Before the first maps were ever drawn, our story begins with footprints in the dust. On an East African savanna, a small band of humans moves with the rising sun. Each step into an unknown world is an act of faith. From these ancient migrations, memory was born, tools were shaped, and the first stories were told. Slowly, these winding paths of discovery solidified into settlements along the life-giving banks of rivers. Along the Nile, the Indus, and the Yellow River, a new chapter unfolded. As floodwaters receded, they left behind fertile soil and a challenge: how to organize. To manage the harvest and govern growing populations, humanity invented new tools: writing to record debts, laws to create order, and shared beliefs to build trust. Simple villages grew into the world's first cities, and from these centers, the corridors of power began to extend. Ambition grew beyond city walls. Great empires rose, lashing together diverse peoples with roads of stone and codes of law. Roman legions guarded the frontiers, while Achaemenid couriers thundered across continents. What holds such vast and different worlds together? A shared promise of security and order. This stability fueled the first great networks of exchange. Along the Silk Roads and across the Indian Ocean, not only did silk meet glass, but ideas, faiths, and diseases found new pathways. Worlds, once separate, began to connect. These routes carried more than cargo. They carried belief. New faiths like Buddhism and Christianity traveled with the merchants, reshaping how millions understood their place in the universe. Later, Hinduism and Islam would organize entire societies, weaving faith into the fabric of daily life, from the marketplace to the king's court. The human story was now being written not just by rulers, but by prophets and philosophers. The Mongol writers created the largest land empire in history, a vast bridge across Eurasia that accelerated the flow of technology from paper to gunpowder. Yet, across the great oceans, the continents of the Americas and the societies of Oceania remained worlds apart. But the horizons were beckoning. Soon, new ships would chase the sunset, and the first truly global age was about to begin. The age of sails turned oceans into highways. A vast planetary exchange connected ecosystems and peoples who had been separated for millennia. New foods transformed diets across the globe, but this collision of worlds also brought new diseases and immense suffering. As European empires swelled, they were built on the brutal profits of the transatlantic slave trade, a scar on human history. For millions, this new global connection meant not opportunity, but bondage. The balance of world power was shifting violently and irrevocably. In the coffee houses and laboratories of Europe, a revolution of the mind was underway. The Enlightenment and the scientific revolution challenged old authorities with reason and evidence. Ideas of liberty and self-governance passed from hand to hand in pamphlets, ignited revolutions. The very idea of the nation was born. But as new borders were drawn on maps and industry transformed the nature of work and warfare, a question emerged. Was liberty for all or just for some? The stage was set for a new era of conflict. The centuries that followed were defined by unprecedented change. Imperial rivalries exploded into two world wars that shattered old empires. The Cold War divided the planet. Then, globalization and the digital age connected us in ways previously unimaginable. Today, we stand at another crossroads. We can rewrite the code of life itself, yet our climate is in crisis. We are more connected than ever, yet inequalities are deepening. The story of our past, of migration, innovation, conflict, and connection, is not over. It is the inheritance that shapes the choices we make today. And just beyond the horizon, the next chapter is already being written.